And yet again, the red light is flashing. That means we're live. Very, very pleased to have two special guests today for our Community Spotlight series. Very shortly, we're going to talk about the Workforce Development Innovation Challenge, and my two guests are going to talk about that. But first, we're going to discuss workforce training in general, I guess. But a very warm welcome, first of all, to Bhat from UTRGV. And Jayshree, I did warn you, I won't give your title because I always find it too long. Tell us your title, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Jayshree Bhat. I'm the Assistant Vice President for the Office of Professional Education and Workforce Development at UTRGV.
See, I did tell you, it's quite a long one. And of course, an old friend, Mario Lozoya, is back. So pleased to have you. Mario, you have two titles, I think. So I'll let you tell the viewers what you're doing today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and good seeing you as well. And thank you for joining us. So, yeah, so I stood up a consulting firm. So I'm the president of Lozoya Consulting, and also in the space of economic development, I'm working for a local general contractor, Noble Texas Builders, and I'm their VP of Business and Leadership Development. Very cool, very cool. Well, hopefully, perhaps towards the end of this program, we can ask you a little bit more about that and sure, of course,
the word out about that. But the main topic today is this Workforce Development Innovation Challenge. But before we explain more about that, Jayshree, if you don't mind, if you could tell us more about your department within UTRGV and how it's obviously connected to workforce training, the importance of workforce development. Tell us a little bit about the department and then this new advisory committee that you've set up.
Sure. Thank you so much, Steve. Yes, the Office of PEWD, which is the Professional Education Workforce Development, offers a diversified portfolio of professional development programs to sustain a strong workforce in the region. The office works closely with public and private organizations to develop customized professional education programs and formally recognizes employers, who proactively build a culture of learning as well. So going along that side, we are an external facing unit of the university that offers a diversified portfolio, like I said, of different type of continuing ed programs. And a lot of them are workforce development specific in the sense that our programs are designed in such a way that they prepare our current workforce, existing workforce, to upskill their skills, technical skills, professional soft skills, and you name it. So in the process of doing that, I actually created a workforce development advisory committee 2 years ago. And it's a 2-year term that is served by a good number of community leaders in our region. And that committee actually supports some of the activities that we do on campus, off campus. And so it's a really highly skilled group of people that are there to support our activities that are geared towards developing our workforce in the region. So one of them happens to be Mr. Mario Lozoya, who is the president of Lozoya Consulting. And he also plays the role of vice president for business and leadership development for Noble, Texas. And I think we can definitely have him speak more about the Workforce Development Innovation Challenge that we are going to be launching next week on September the 24th at 10 a.m. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Jayshree, for laying the groundwork there for us. First of all, before we start talking about that, Mario, what's it like being on this advisory committee? Is it do you have to put a lot of hours in, and how pleased are you to be there?
Well, yeah, when I was asked to join the committee.
Well, I should tell to the viewers, this is your passion. This is workforce training. I mean, if everyone that knows you, this is your bailiwick, and the Valley's lucky to have you.
Appreciate it. And yes, and I'm very passionate about education, workforce development, and a holistic approach for long-term sustainment of companies, which creates then the economic development or economic, in my opinion, the opportunity for companies to look at the region because of that strength. So when I was asked to join this advisory council, first of all, I was honored to do something like this regionally, because we want to make sure that the university continues to be a thought leader in this space, and for them to ask me to be part of it, obviously I was very honored to do that, and an honor to be next to prominent leaders in the community pushing initiatives like the one we're going to talk about today.
That's good. So, well, but perhaps you want to start to explain this, the Workforce Development Innovation Challenge,
Right.
along with the rest of the advisory committee and Jayshree and her team. You've come up with this project. What is it about and why is it important?
Yes, thanks. So the initial question to the committee was, well, not a question, it was a statement from the university saying, hey, we're hearing in the community that sometimes the students are not as prepared as we'd like them to be for what we call the workforce of tomorrow, right? So that became then a challenge of ours, like what can we do to support that point, right? And so me using my old Toyota thinking, if you recall, I was at Toyota for 13 years. So we quickly put together a problem solving scenario, identifying that particular statement as the problem. And then we created a visual of how do we come up with a breakdown of solutions to mitigate that particular problem. So here we are, we're facing with the issue of how do we get our students more prepared front and center to the high-tech workforce of tomorrow, right? Which then creates that workforce that we're looking for. So we sent you, Steve, a link to the landing page that has this particular presentation that I'm talking about. Maybe you can integrate it into the story. Mm-hmm. And what we did is we did a quick visual. I call it the pace of change of technology. I mean, sometimes I refer to the cell phone that we use, right? I remember just 10 years ago, we didn't have cameras on our phones, right? We didn't have so many gigabytes capacity on our phone. In my opinion, I think I'm a little bit tech savvy, and I don't think I use that phone at 10% of its capacity, if that, right? And that's just one example of technology, how it's moving so fast. I mean, here in our own backyard, we have companies like SpaceX, companies like Keppel Ampels, companies like CK Technologies, and others that have high-tech equipment and high-tech operations. And we need to have our workforce adequately and relevant prepared to that type of technology, right? So if you were to draw the pace of that technology on a piece of paper, how fast is it moving? And then how fast is academia moving? Is it at the same pace? And we think it's not at the same pace, right? So then that difference, we call it the gap. So when you pull the gap out and you break it down, there's many elements to why this gap exists, okay? So one of them can be equipment in the classroom, for example. You know, it's not maybe identically the same to what industry is using today. So that's one gap. Another gap could be, you know, is the staff of the university understanding of that pace at the workforce place, at that high tech place, and so forth and so on, right? Maybe the students, you know, how are they coming over to us from the high schools? And so then when you put all these elements together, we start eliminating those that we don't have any control of, right? From the advisory board perspective. And one of these elements, Steve, was staying in touch with industry. Are we connected with industry well enough to get this feedback? And we found that we're not. Okay, and kudos to the university to say, you know what, we need to do better at that. And that's what this initiative is. This initiative is really the university saying, you know, we need to improve this particular part of this gap that has been presented due to the pace of change of technology. So then from that thinking, Steve, we came up with this strategy to create a vehicle, no pun intended, create a vehicle that would help the university get closer in those industry needs so that we can better prepare the students for those needs, right? So then here comes this challenge. So we create this challenge where we're asking communities, maybe the EDCs, the economic development offices or corporations, chambers, any community partners and industry partners to come together and create their own plan, their own strategy to upskill workers in this high-tech space that we're talking about, right? So we're asking 5 to 10 workers, teach them a little bit more on this high skill that we're talking about, and then this challenge, then we'll be able to get data. The university will be able to get data. What are these challenges that industries have? How come we don't know about them? Let's get closer to those needs so that you don't have those problems, industry partner. So the more and more participation we have, the more data that the university will then acquire so that they can better assess their position in this space that we're talking about, right? So we're going to launch this initiative, this challenge next week. I believe it's the 24th. Jim, looking at Jane, Jay's giving me the and we provided the link, Steve, for people to join. Hopefully, Steve, you will be there as well, so we can launch this challenge and make this announcement publicly and say, hey, we need you to support this initiative and be part of this challenge, so the university can take that step further and collect this information at the end of the challenge so that we can be better prepared long-term. And we'd like to see this challenge continue year after year, because we think that the longer we sustain this kind of vehicle that I'm talking about, the more prepared our students are going to be. Because think about the partners that we're going to create, right? Think about then the opportunities for students to be interns in these companies that are going to be partners. Think about maybe externships of professors or instructors to be part of this initiative. So in the end, in years from now, we're going to have, in my opinion, partnerships with industry partners that are moving at a high-tech pace. Our students are going to be front and center with them, lockstep. The university is going to be better understanding of that pace, therefore mitigating this gap that we talked about at the beginning. And that's what the challenge is all about.
Well, yes, for sure, you can count us in, Mario. We're already promoting the challenge on our site, and we'll definitely be there at the launch on the 24th. And I sort of have an anecdote which speaks to everything you just said there. I was recently covering a McAllen Economic Development Corporation board meeting, and that group had taken some of the city commissioners and higher education officials over to Reynosa to see a few of the more up-to-date maquilas. I think a lot of them are now up to date, actually. A lot of them are high tech, and everyone was blown away. I mean, obviously the MEDC leadership knows very well. They're interacting with them, excuse me, all the time. But the rest of the city leaders in McAllen and the education leaders that went to see these plants, they just couldn't believe how high tech they were. And that very point about academia being behind where industry is today was reinforced at the board meeting by Keith Patridge, the leader of the MEDC, and the education leaders were there. They didn't disagree. I know UTRGV, Dr. Graywall, I think, was visiting the Maquilas. So was
Yes.
David Plummer from South Texas College. I'm not sure about Texas A&M, but they saw that challenge, that issue
Yes.
that the Valley has to deal with, that we're not keeping pace. And I'm not saying other regions of the country are, but certainly in the Valley, it's not there. And they were saying
That's
that
right.
exact same thing.
That's right, Steve. You know, it's not, and it's a good point that you make. It's not unique to the Valley. You know, so I don't want anybody to think that this is a Valley issue only. No, this is a national problem. You know, and I think that for the UTRGV to take that step and be a leader in this space is a big deal, not just here in the Valley, but across Texas, maybe across the whole country. So kudos to the university for seeing that gap and working to mitigate it.
Yeah, absolutely. If I may add something else, we have probably the most enterprising students that you'll ever find. They're really good at tapping into resources and learning what they need to. All we need to do is just give them access to those type of resources, right? So training is one of them. But going back to the community itself, we're one of the fastest growing regions in the state, if not in the country. And there's so much potential for us to kind of upskill our current workforce, right? So that is where we really want to focus on as a university, to see how we can provide the training and the resources necessary for the employers, the private industries in the area, to upskill their workers, their employees, so that they can actually have a much better impact on the bottom line at the end of the day, right? A perfect example that I can use for this is that we recently worked with the Doctors Hospital at Renaissance to develop this customized training in occupational medicine. So this is a perfect example of that workforce development type of initiative that the universities, they tapped into the Texas Workforce Commission's Skills Development Grant, and we developed this training that was designed specifically for advanced practice practitioners, such as physician assistants, nurse practitioners. And so that's the type of interaction and collaboration that we're looking at increasing in terms of what we can do after the challenge is launched. And it doesn't limit to just the UTRGV. It could be any of the institutions in the area that have certain core competencies in the type of training that they can provide.
So Jayshree, where did the idea come from? Mario's explained what the challenge is very well, but how did you come up with this idea?
Any of these ideas actually, brew over a period of time. So we hold these the Workforce Development Advisory Committee meetings once in 2 months. In every meeting, there's this conversation about what the university can do, how do we address some of the gaps in the region. So these type of ideas come up over a period of time, and then once we caught on to that, then I started working exclusively with, Mr. Matt Razak. As you know, he is now with the VP for Business Development at CoStep, and then Mr. Mario Lozoya. So I started working with them closely because they have a very regional mindset. They're looking at the Valley as a whole, and they're both involved in economic development activities in the region. So it made sense to perfectly, to work with them. And they both happen to be part of our advisory committee anyway. So they both have put in a lot of work into this. I'm excited to be working with them to get this challenge, introduced to the community. And I'm really hoping that the industry as a whole will understand the big picture concept with this and kind of come on board to work with us to collectively make a difference for our region. Yes.
Anything else you'd like to add, Mario?
Yes, we forgot to mention that hopefully we have a winner, right? We're going to have a winner that we want to recognize, like, hey, this partnership, whatever town, whatever EDC, with whatever industry partner it is that utilizes the tools that we're offering. The university has tools, Workforce Commission, TEA, and the like. If they can use these tools to upskill some workers, then we're going to identify a winner.
Yes.
And the university has a lot of development opportunities, executive training, maybe even TMAC maybe can give some courses to the institution or to the industry partner. So the winner is going to have a menu of things to pick from for them to even improve themselves even further, through this partnership. And those are the kind of things we want to really leverage and saying, like, we have a lot of tools here we can help you with. Just, let's be our partner so we can better understand what you need, because otherwise, without this vehicle, we don't know what you need, right? So Absolutely. We're trying to tie all these things together, Steve, so we can be a better region long-term.
Yes, and for those people who actually attend the event on the 24th, they'll actually get to hear about a lot of details that we may not have covered in the, in the interview today. But there's definitely a landing page that's been created with a lot of resources related to this. And the resource also includes a lot of services that are made available to the community through UTRGV, we're not just talking about training and development. The UTRGV has, the faculty work on so many different types of intellectual resources, consultation, any of those. A lot of them are offered free of charge to the community, and sometimes people are not aware of it. So we're also hoping that we'll build that bridge as well, in terms of letting the community know, come utilize the university a lot more than you have in the past through this process.
Well, Jayshree, tell the viewers again the landing page address. And
it's pretty long. I'm sure you'll be, if they visit the utrgv.edu/PEWD, which is Professional and Workforce Development, that's our main, main site. But from there on the homepage, they'll have a link. They'll see a link to this Workforce Development Innovation Challenge as well, and that page has all of the details. We definitely will be showcasing that, during the event as well. But thank you so much, Steve, for meeting with us and talking about this. We really hope that this is the step in the right direction and the first step in the right direction as well in building this really highly skilled workforce in our region that can eventually attract large companies, technology companies included, to take advantage of the number of graduates that are coming out of our university that prefer to stay in the region, right? So we want to be able to continue to develop them and develop the current workforce as well.
That's great, and absolutely, we'll mention the landing page, and we'll be there on the day. But Mario, give us some closing remarks, if you will, on why this is so important for the Valley's future, and anything else you'd like to add.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, Steve, I think that I'm very proud of the university's posture here and saying, look, we want to be part of this gap mitigation on this overall skilled workforce, and for them to take leadership in this regional issue, it means a lot. And I've always said, from an economic development perspective, we need to work together as a region, because especially from a foreign direct investor perspective, then they're not looking at one little town or the other. They're looking at the entire region, to include Mexico, the Mexican border, right? That whole region provides an opportunity for foreign direct investment, and for the university to take leadership in a role like this, it's a big deal, and very happy to be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is great. I really appreciate the time you've given us both of you have given us, and we will help get the word out and be there on the 24th. Anything else you'd like to add, Jayshree?
Yes, I really want to take a moment to thank Mr. Lozoya as well as Mr. Razak, who have led this initiative for us. But generally, I would like to say that our Workforce Development Advisory Committee is probably one of the most supportive committee that you can ever find. It's made up of who's who in our community. We've also got the leaders of our workforce development boards as well in the region. So they're very collectively, they're supporting our efforts. And I'm really, really thankful to have an exemplary group of people that are really encouraging us to kind of, continue to move forward with this.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. Jayshree Bhat from UTRGV. And Mario Lozoya from Lozoya Consulting, thank you very much for explaining the new program, Workforce Development Innovation Challenge. We're going to learn more about it next week, and we're very excited about that. So we'll see you all soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Take care.